Do you know these 26 things to ask your venue, guys? 26 things. I know, it sounds like a lot. Maybe it is a lot, but these are super, super important questions that you need to know the answer to before you book your venue. Whether that's a case of looking on their website, going on their blogs, their FAQs, or asking them at the site visit. You need to know these questions. So let's dive in. Hello lovely couples and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, wedding planner and owner of Bluebird Creative. I provide a weekly dose of wedding planning goodness for the modern couple. So if you haven't already, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel and don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at bluebird_creative, where I provide a lot more behind the scenes of running my wedding planning business, showing you our real weddings and what we're up to on the day to day. So make sure you come and join me over there as well. Right, let's jump into this week's video. It is super, super informative. I am giving you all the value today, guys. This one is important. Note it all down. You're gonna want all this info. Let's do this. Okay guys, I am gonna we've got 26 questions to get through. So I'm gonna roll through these and just get firing away straight away. Make sure you've got your pen and paper, grab yourself a cup of coffee. If you haven't paused this now, go do it. Or a glass of wine if it's the evening, that's absolutely fine. Let's get this going. Super important questions. Let's go. Right, you are looking for your venue. These are the things that you need to be researching, finding out and asking. First of all, is the venue actually available on the dates that you're looking for? Do they have the availability in, for example, 2023 or 2024? Are you ideally looking to get married in, I don't know, May or September? Do they have availability? Those are the things that you obviously need to be asking when you're reaching out to the venue. If you're not fussed about the availability, it's obviously still just asking if they have availability and when it is. One of the next questions you want to be asking, and actually the rest of these are in no particular order, I am just firing them at you. You want to know capacity. What's the capacity for the ceremony location? You know, there's going to be a particular space that can be used for the ceremony, and you want to know what the capacity for that is. What's the capacity for a sit-down meal for the wedding breakfast and the location of that? What's the capacity for the evening reception? So these are really important numbers. They might actually have a minimum. They will definitely have a maximum. So you need to know these because you need to know if it actually fits your guest list and the number of people that you're looking to invite to your venue. You don't want it to feel sparse and you've got not enough guests there to fill the space, but also you don't want to book somewhere and then find out you have too many guests and you have to cut your guest list. So this is really important. It's also why it's really important to have your draft guest list written up before you search for venues. I've done a video on the first steps for wedding planning. I will link it up here for you. Obviously, one of the questions you're going to want to ask when you investigate a venue is how much do they charge? Now, they will likely charge a different amount on different days of the week. So definitely get their different prices. And if you're open to getting married on a weekday, you're going to end up saving some money. And yes, it can sometimes be thousands. So definitely investigate their price list. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. That's kind of an obvious question, but I'm adding it in because you have to do it. Next question, super important. Are they licensed? Now, I don't mean in terms of alcohol, I mean in terms of ceremony. So can you actually legally have a civil ceremony at the venue? If they don't have a license, it's not an issue. You can investigate a celebrant-led wedding, which isn't legal, but you can go and do your legal bit at a registry office. It's still a really great option, but it's definitely a question that you need to be asking so that you can work out which route you go down and whether that venue does tick the box or whether no, you don't want a celebrant led, you want a civil ceremony. So really, really important question to ask, guys. Will you have exclusive hire? So for example, if you are looking at a hotel, you may not have exclusive hire because the hotel may still be open to guests and you may only have a few rooms that are exclusive to you. If it's a manor house or an estate, then you might find that yes, you have exclusive hire. So definitely investigate this, because if you were to find out on the day that other people from the public will just be milling around, that's not going to be the one if you thought that it was just going to be you. If perhaps you're getting married in some public gardens, for example, they might be open for part of the day and that might not be okay with you. So definitely check, do you have exclusive use? And if it's not, what are the rules and regs behind that? The next thing you want to be checking is it a dry hire venue or not? Now this will mean that if it's a dry hire, you'll basically be bringing everything in yourself. It will also likely mean that there is no venue manager or events coordinator from the venue on the day. So these change slightly depending on the venue that you're working with. Again, a hotel will have an events team. A barn venue can vary between being a dry hire or being a managed venue. So you definitely want to investigate that, because if you have a dry hire, you're absolutely going to want to have a wedding coordinator or planner on board, even if it's just a coordinator on the day to just manage the venue. So you're definitely going to want to check whether you're dry hire or not. It's also going to affect what suppliers you can bring in and how it all works. Does the venue charge corkage? Now, it might be the caterers that are involved in this, it might be the venue that are involved in this. It depends on who supplies the alcohol, who's going to be managing the bar, and so on. So definitely just ask the question, and then you'll probably get some more information back on the fact that they run the bar and therefore no, there's no corkage. So definitely ask the question. And that also brings us to, can you provide your own alcohol, or do they have to provide the alcohol? So that kind of links in with the corkage, those two questions. If there is an in-house catering team, and that is again more sort of for the event managed like hotels, they'll have an in-house catering team. So if there's only the one choice of caterer, double check if they've got minimum covers. So for example, some caterers will say to you that there has to be a minimum of 80 covers. Now if you only had 70 guests, they might still be happy for you to go ahead, but you'd be charged for 80 covers. So again, that's more of a catering question, but with some venues, because they have in-house catering, it's definitely good to ask when you're at the site visit if you know it's an in-house caterer. Next question is to ask whether they do day hire or weekend hire. Some will do both, some will only be for the day, and some will only be for the weekend. So you might be able to get on site on the Friday and then leave on the Sunday, or it might be a case of you've literally got the venue for the Saturday. So definitely worth investigating whether it's a weekend venue or just a day venue. Then when it comes to suppliers, do you have choice and is there flexibility? So a lot of venues, even if they are slightly dry hire or a bit flexible, will likely have a selection of caterers that you have to choose from. That's because they've got all their licensing, all their information, their health and safety already, and they know the space, that they know the equipment in the kitchens and so on. So they'll likely have a selection of caterers that you can choose from, but have the conversation with the venue and find out. They may have no restrictions and you can choose whoever you want as long as they get all the required information that they need. They may say that they have a selection of suppliers and that if you want to bring in someone else, you just have to pay an extra charge on top of. So have that conversation. It obviously doesn't just come down to caterers. I seem to be talking about caterers a lot in this video, which is weird. But, you know, can you bring in any florist that you want? Can you bring in any decor company that you want? Can you bring in any musicians, and so on? Talking of musicians, one of the next things you're going to want to ask is, are there any noise limitations or restrictions? So some venues will have a policy where you can't have music outside after 7 p.m. and the doors to the venue need to be closed so that the music is contained inside. Others will actually have a noise limiter, and sometimes they can be set particularly low. There's a venue that I work at quite frequently and it has a pretty low sound limiter, and therefore we advise our couples to not have a live band and to actually go more towards having a DJ because it's just less likely to trigger the sound limiter. So definitely have that conversation because that can really change your choices of music and impact your day if you're not aware of it. Next, you're going to want to check the timings. So what time can you actually have your ceremony? Now, this will come down to, if you're having a celebrant, you'll have it whenever you want to, depending on the venue. And if it's a civil ceremony, then you'll get what you're given as such when you ring up the registry office. But the venue may have restrictions. So for example, one site that I'm working at next month, they won't allow ceremonies before 2 p.m. When I got married, the venue that I got married in, again, it was actually at 2 p.m. You couldn't get married before that. So definitely check that with your venue before you then ring the registry office to try and get a time for the ceremony. It's also worth noting what time carriages will be at the end of the evening. When do the lights need to be off? When does the bar need to be closed? And what time does everybody need to be off site? And also, do they have any late night sort of extensions where you can pay an extra fee to have everybody on site till 1 a.m, for example. So have that conversation and just understand your options. So some more questions for you. We want to know, is there accommodation available on site? If there is, do you have to block book it? Do you have to have the accommodation on the site? Do you have to have all the accommodation? Is that included in the fee? Can guests pay for it separately? Can you not have accommodation at all? Find out the options to you. Definitely when it comes down to the fee as well, it's really important to kind of know, is that already included and those bedrooms are included? Or are you paying that on top of? Do you have to have them all? And now I'm repeating myself. So definitely investigate that. You also want to look into parking. Is there easy parking on site? Is it easy for guests to park and leave their car? Do they have to be off at a certain time? How far from the car park is the venue, and so on? Because obviously from a supplier's perspective as well, that's something that your suppliers will be asking when they're needing to deliver and unload everything. Does the venue have any policies on children, for example? Are children allowed? Are they not allowed? That might seem like a weird question, but sometimes where there's lakes and ponds, they might have restrictions on there's no children after 7 p.m. They might not want them outside when it's dark, and so on, just for health and safety measures. Also, you're going to want to know if they've got any baby changing facilities and whether they've got disabled access at all. Obviously have a think about your guest list. If you don't need to worry about those particular things, then you don't need to ask those questions. But I thought it was very important to flag those to you so you can then remember to have that conversation with your venue if you know that that's going to affect some of your guests. So some really important bits that I think get forgotten quite easily by couples is to find out, firstly, are you allowed confetti on site? And if so, is there a particular location that the confetti can be used, and what are the confetti restrictions? So a lot of venues now will only allow biodegradable confetti, which I'm totally here for. Some of them won't allow it at all. So you might then have to look at doing bubbles, or I even saw, again on TikTok, somebody do pom-poms and they used that as confetti and it looked incredible. I mean, I'm totally here for it. So you just need to look at different options, but definitely ask the question. Some venues will have a particular spot on the grounds that can be used for confetti that will need to be biodegradable, and so on. You'll also want to check whether any furniture is included in your hire of the venue. So are the tables and the chairs included, for example, or are you going to have to hire them in separately? Does the venue have a sound system? Does it have a microphone? Is it wireless? Is it Bluetooth? A lot of them will have a sound system nowadays, and a lot of them will have a microphone that's Bluetooth and wireless, which is the same thing. Check that they've got them in all locations of the venue. So for example, if you're getting married, I'm thinking of one venue that I've worked in recently. They have 2 barns on site. One's the ceremony barn and one's the main drinks reception and wedding breakfast, like reception barn. So they actually have an in-house sound system in both locations, which makes it super easy. But they don't have any speakers outside, so we always have live musicians outside, or we actually provide a PA kit for our couples when they're having drinks receptions outside. So definitely ask those questions, because the amount of times I have a conversation with a couple and I'm picking up a coordination a month beforehand and I say, okay, you've popped down on your questionnaire that you're having a playlist, a Spotify playlist playing outside for your drinks reception. What are we playing that off of? And the amount of times they go, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And we then have to hire in our PA kit because actually there is no sound system outside. So definitely ask those questions. And then if there isn't one, and you're having a Spotify playlist outside, for example, and you don't have me on site to remind you, then you won't forget and you'll actually hire in a PA kit or whatever. So definitely ask those questions. Final 2 questions, guys. So is there a bridal suite on site, and what time can you have access from? And also, what are the setup timings? Like, what time are your team allowed on site on the day to start setting up? Usually it's about 9 a.m, but some of them let you on earlier and some venues let you on later, which is really tricky. So definitely find that out. Are you allowed on site the day before? Is there a wedding the day before? If there isn't, can you set up? When would be the cutoff that they could let you know that you could set up the day before? And so on. If you're staying on site, what time do you need to be off site the next day? Okay, guys, I have combined a couple of the questions in one there, but we have 26 points that I have gone over and handed to you, my lovelies. I am going to link a blog post below as well that has got 30 questions, which is basically all of these and a couple of extras for you, so that you've got it in written format as well, because I appreciate that actually having it written down can be a bit easier. I hope that you found that helpful. Like, these are really, really important questions, and if you miss any of them, I would hate for you to be disappointed because you didn't realise that you needed to ask that, and then it comes up later on in your planning and it's a surprise and it's not the answer that you want, and that's sad times. So I really hope that this helps avoid any pickles. Anyway, guys, I hope you found it helpful. I will see you on the next one. Have a fab week. Hope your planning's going well. See you soon.